Welcome to Ideations Tech. You are watching the Python programming series, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more epic tutorials on Python. Without further delay, let's begin. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about lists. Now, a few pointers about lists. They are apparently, you could say in a few terms that the first pointer would be that a list is one of Python's built-in data structures, and yes, a data type too. The other thing would be that this data structure is mutable. Now, mutable means that we can mess around with it, we can edit it, we can manipulate it, so on and so forth. And lists provide a more significant way of storing data. Now, if we want to store some values or inputs, like let's say integers, floats, strings, booleans, or maybe another variable, yeah, we can absolutely store them in a list. Lists make it easy to store data. It's kind of like a temporary database. So let's begin by creating a list. So I'm going to go ahead and make a list of my cart. Let's make some very interesting items within the cart. So my cart, now I've defined square brackets. So another pointer is that this data structure has square brackets. Okay, not parentheses, not curly brackets, square brackets. Now I've kept a set of quotes because I'm going to be adding strings. So my cart can have, let's say, an iPad. My cart's going to also have an iPhone. My cart will also have, let's say, Canon camera. And let's just add another thing, like, let's say a watch. All right, so here is my list. Yeah, not much, but this is the front. This is what's going on in the front. Now, if we talk about how these items are stored, well, they are stored at a position, and we can call this an index. So we have index 0, we have index 1, we have index 2, and we have index 3. Yes, they start from 0. Everything in Python regarding positioning starts from 0. And yeah, if you're working with some functional ranges, but never mind, that's for another tutorial. Anyway, iPad is at index 0, iPhone is at index 1, and so on. So you can think of these as the house numbers. These are house numbers, and this is an element. Anything that's inside of in a list, that item is called an element. If you want to be all fancy talking about, how do we actually say what that is? So yeah, correct vocab would be the correct vocab to use for this would be something like, okay, so the element iPhone is at index 1, or it's positioned at index 1, something like that. You can never be too communicative. All right, so I ran that. My list is now, yeah, now it's actually come to life. It's like now ready to be accessed. So let's go ahead and talk about a function. So the primary and most used would be, you can say append. So the append function goes something like this. Now, the append function, what it does is it goes ahead and adds an item. Yes, you can add any element to your list, yet it will start from the end. So it'll be added to the end of the list. So if I say cart.append, and let me just put in, let's say, a caret. Great. Now if I print the cart, you'll see that my cart has been updated. Yep, there we go, at the end. So same would apply if I did another append, and it would just go to the end of the list right again. So that's kind of like how the append function works, and yes, it's a very, very used function. It is one of the most used functions, in fact, because a lot of times the need comes for you to, like when you're looping or doing something, you need to append data to some things. Like you need to give output to a data structure, and then that data structure will be going through a relatively different process. So there are many scenarios, however, let's not get distracted. Another method would be something like insert. So cart.insert. Now, insert, what it does is it takes two arguments. So an index and an element you'd want to add. Now, if I add, let's say I want to go to index 1 and I want to add something like pixel. Okay, if I run that, yeah, it runs, but let's see what change it applied. As you can see, pixel replaced iPhone at index 1. iPhone has been pushed aside. This is also known as, a run over function in my opinion, because it just runs over whatever you want. So I wanted to run over iPhone. So Pixel came in to iPhone's house and iPhone was evicted. Yeah, but then again, append is where you would use it. However, whatever function you use, it entirely depends on your situation, what you're making, what are you coding, what's your goal, and all that. Now, let's talk about, let's say, something like how do we actually remove data? So we can say cart.pop. Now, there are two ways. Cart.pop takes in an index. So let's say I want to remove, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3. I want to remove the third index. So the third index will be wiped and the element on top of it. If I run that and, okay, now if I say print cart, you can see that the camera has been knocked out. There is no longer a camera, and so our list has been shortened. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's shortened by one index. And this is kind of an unreliable method. Then again, your situation depends on it. However, this method is a bit unreliable when I code basically. So a reliable method would be something like this, cart.remove. Now the remove function, what it does is it directly targets a value. So if you know a certain value will be in a list, you can directly target it and remove it. So we can go ahead and say remove watch. And now if I say print cart, you can see that the watch is gone. Now the reason this is unreliable, the pop method, is because let's say we're scraping data. Just imagine we're scraping data and we get, let's say all the Bitcoin prices, or cryptocurrency prices. Now I don't know, or make it simple. Let's say we scrape all the available cryptocurrencies, like the top 50 cryptocurrencies. Now we don't know which one will come at which index, right? And what if we want to remove, let's say, Ethereum? We don't know where it'll come at. So this will be unreliable. The index. Removing by the index would be unreliable in the situation. Therefore, we would target the Ethereum, the name which says Ethereum, with .remove, thus removing that very item, element, from our list. And this is basically, these are like basically the functions that are most used. There are plenty of other functions. However, I will be making another video on those more in depth, because, like project related. However, let's move on to our final topic, which is on how we can access the elements. So there are two ways. The first way is indexing. The second way is slicing. Indexing is, yes, you might have guessed, accessing an element from a list based on its index position. So let me just rerun this again. And let's just print our cart. Okay, we have these items. Now I want to get the watch. So what I'll do is I'll say print cart, and next to cart I'll pass in square brackets. Within the square brackets, I'll be passing in the index. So that's on index 3. So I'll pass in 3, and as you can see, it goes and fetches the element on the third index. So indexing can be useful, like if you know where something's going to be positioned and you want to grab it. Like let's say you have 3 items or 3 top cryptocurrencies coming back from a scrape, from scraper or something. You can go ahead and access via an index. All right, so I know where this cryptocurrency will be, and I just want to access its name. So yeah, this is pretty useful, indexing. Yeah, and it's used a lot, not just with lists. The next thing would be something like print, cart, and now let's say I want to access everything from iPhone to the watch. So I can say something like, go from index 1 till index 3. Now look what happens. I only get iPhone and camera. That's kind of weird. Why? Because if you take a closer look here, 1 is the starting point. The colon represents everything in the middle that comes in between on the way to the end. And 3 is the stopping point. Now Python takes this term very literally. 3 means stop. Do not include 3. Stop at 3. Just stop at it. That's the literal meaning. So in order to include the third index, we want to pass in an index ahead of 3, which is 4. And as you can see now, I have arranged output. So I selected the elements which I wanted, the range of elements. So from iPhone to watch. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like and be on the lookout for more epic Python tutorials. All right, until then, happy coding. I'll see you in the next video.